Hi, welcome back to another video for real estate tips. Today I'll go over one of the interesting article that I was able to read over the week. And not sure if you know, but this person, his name is Ramit Sethi, and he is one of the main character for one of the Netflix hit show. It's called How to Be Rich, and he's been on he have his YouTube channel online to show people how to be rich and having a pretty good running. I watched his show a couple of times, and I see that there's a lot of tips that he provided that makes sense, and I really like the way that he talked. So the article that I read the other day called is 10 money rule to build life changing wealth according to Rumi, and I will go through that article and point out the ten thing that he mentioned in the article, and see if if I agree with them or not, and give you a reason why. So let's get started. Okay. So the article name is 10 money rule to build life changing wealth according to Ramit Sethi. And here's the link to the article. So if you want to read the full article, you can just go to this link. I will go ahead and summarize what the article is talking about. The first rule is set aside a 1 year emergency fund. For this rule, I totally agree with him. You always need like emergency fund just in case something unexpected happen. According to the article, Americans spent on average 73,000 in 2022. So 1 year salary, 1 year emergency fund would be saving up at least $73,000 in your account just in case there's something happen and you need the fund like right away. Like there's an emergency or there's a sickness in the family that you need, and during that time, you it might be hard for you to come up with that kind of money. So setting aside a 1 year emergency fund would be very beneficial. Most people can set aside 3 to 6 months, but a year should be recommended. And how you gonna start it? 73,000, for an emergency fund might be a large amount for many. So the recommendation is just start small. Maybe start out like saving $50 a month. And then after a couple of months or a year, if you're comfortable with that amount and you're not overspending, then you can increase to 100 and then 200 and so on and so on. Just building it from the small amount to a larger amount. And then if something really bad happened, you have the extra cash to available to for the thing to cover. So that's what one of his recommendation, and I believe this rule is correct. And I live by this rule too, so I do have enough emergency fund set up for my account. Rule number two is the 10 and 20 rules. So I do believe in this rule also. The rule said that you need to save 10% of your gross income and invest 20% of your gross income. So example, if your family put away make like gross income like 200,000 a year, then you save 20,000 in a saving account, and then you invest 40,000, and the rest is for expending. You can you can expand, and the more that you earn, you can increase the amount over the year. And there are another popular rule that out there is a 50, 30, and 20 rule, and that rule says that 50% spending on necessity, 30% spend on discretionary income items, which is like eating out, buying clothing and stuff like that. Or just treat yourself to some nice things, something that you like, but then you don't necessarily have to, and then save at least 20%, which I agree with this rule also, and I'm trying to live by this rule as well. Rule number three is pay in full for large expenses. Now, this rule I don't particularly agree with. Uh, in the article itself, Ramit said that have enough money set aside to pay in full for housing and wedding. Now, the thing is, I understand wedding. It's like I don't know about other people, but for me and my culture, like Vietnamese, we always save enough money for the wedding because we don't go out and we borrow money for a wedding. And so that might make sense, but for a housing, for a house, like we live in Orange County, California. Myself is like in Garden Grove, so an average house, like even when I got married back in 2016, the average house price was like 5 to 600,000. Now, with a salary of like under 100,000, if you want to save up 5 to 600,000 to pay off a house in full, which come out to be like, let's say we were saving in the rate at the rate of 20%. So 100,000, 20% is 20,000 a year. Now, in order for you to save enough to buy a house, pay in full like 600,000, it's gonna take you 30 years, you know, with that rate. Now, by the time I save up, to be able to afford a house price going from 600 might have gone to 12, 1.2 million or more, and saving 30 years in order to afford a house that cost 30 years ago wouldn't be wouldn't be wouldn't help at all. So not too many people can save up save enough money to buy a house outright and pay in full. So that rule itself, I don't think it makes sense. When I got married back in 2016, the first thing that I did is I pay up the wedding, and then whatever I have left, I'll put it down on the down payment. The good thing about American Life is that the lender, that can lend you like 80, like up to 80% or more of your loan. So for a $600,000 home, you just need like 120,000 and save, and then you'll be able to buy that house with a 20% down and start paying mortgage on it. And if I don't have a house to sell, I still have to pay for rent, which instead of paying for rent, I'll pay for the principal and interest. A lot of people say sometimes principal and interest gonna cost more than a rental. But then I'm like, okay, but a lot of time, like the rent rate will not stay the same compared to principal and mortgage. Back in 2016, I bought a house. I'm still paying $2,000 a month for the house. Whereas if we go out and rent right now, well, we can't get anything under, comparable to the house that we live in. We probably won't be able to get anything under 3,500 a month. So our house payment is fixed for 30 years, whereas the rent will go up. So as even though I'm a real estate agent, I recommend most people, if they can afford to buy a house, then to live in, especially not investment but to live in, then buying it as soon as possible. So don't save all the money to buy a house. Just save enough that you can afford to buy a house, and then pay the monthly mortgage. Even though the rate is right now, it's still okay. It's like 6%, I think. So it's not that bad. And give or take, you're probably gonna be able to build wealth because you keep on paying off your principal. So the article itself have a quote from him that said, I don't want cost to be the first reason to make his decision, or second, or even the fifth. So, but then, of course, for something as large as a house, even car, like the interest rate was so low that why would you want to save $60,000 for a car? It's gonna take you like 3 or 4 years to save up for a car, whereas you buy and then you can pay a monthly payment with a low interest rate. So I don't particularly agree 100% with this rule. So for a wedding, it might make sense, but for a house or something like a car or a house, just buy it, and then get a loan from it. Don't get some kind of, make sure that the interest rate makes sense too. That I've seen people that they can't afford a car, so they borrow money, but then they're paying like 10, 15% on interest rate on the car. That doesn't make sense also. So make sure the interest rate are correct, like all right, and then purchase that if you can afford it. Rule number 4. This one it said never question spending on books, advertiser, or charity. Now this one I do agree on some of it, but I don't agree on some of it. Let me break it down. So think of value, and think of value and doesn't want to waste time playing space on it, which is books. So if you see a book, he think he might want to read it, he'd buy it, and I totally agree with that. Because book especially, it give you knowledge, it give you more intelligent, it give you more ability to think, like to be more creative. So I don't mind buying books if I think it's helped me. Now, but then for the second items, like he never look at the price of a, or second guess whether he should order a appetizer at a restaurant or not. Now the thing is, it depend, for me it depend. Like if the appetizer doesn't, like, even though like I think I might want it, but then if it's like too much money, I don't think I should just blindly close my eye and just buy it. I do love to to provide my kid with whatever they want, as much as possible, as long as they're making them happy. But like let's say they want a McDonald's toys or something like that, and then because of that they rather buy like the Happy Meal instead of like the chicken nugget. Even though the only thing that they can eat is like the chicken nugget, and then we have a bunch of McDonald's toys at home. Like it doesn't make sense to keep on buying the the, the Happy Meal with the toy when the toys like repeating, and then they're just gonna throw it around anyway. So um, for that itself, like it doesn't have to be like that. That straight up like buy it whenever you want it to. And for charity, that I don't have enough, or I don't have a lot of money in order for me to think about that yet. So that in itself, I don't have a another I don't have like I won't have a say in it. uh, Rule number five: fly business class on flight longer than 4 hours. For this one, I typically agree to it if you can afford it. Now, in the article itself, Ramit said that this is his 10 rule, so it won't fit for everyone. The reason I'm doing this video is to see how active, how aligned I am with him. So this rule itself, like if I can afford for business class on flight, then I should I would do it. So this is a money rule that simply makes his life easier. Yeah, because once you're wealthy enough, like some of the small, kind of like the small decision, you don't want to think too much about it. Same thing with like how Steve Jobs, he's wearing the same thing over and over again because he think it's not important what he wear every day. It's more important for him to use that time to be creative and think of other things. If you look at other like more successful people like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, like you see their fashion their fashion sense is not really robust. Like they just like, and that's why I like to like I don't want to think too much about those kind of like small thing that doesn't make doesn't affect my life on a daily basis, or doesn't change my happiness level. So Risi said he said that more comfort and on the flight help him cut through the mental cost of thinking about it and other financial decisions I had to make every day. So rule number six: buy the best and keep it for as long as possible. I believe this also, especially for clothing, phone, and cars. Now, I'm pretty sure 99%, like a good majority of my clients, or my viewer out there probably like having their iPhone, right? At first, like a couple of years ago, like before I gave in to having an iPhone. I don't like iPhone at all. But then I used to have a window phone for a while because I thought it's different than an iPhone. I don't want the same thing filled with everybody else because everybody around me having iPhones. So I started out like using the Nokia and then the window phone, and then after Windows died, the operating system, like they gave like Microsoft gave up on the Windows operating system. Uh, I moved over to Android. I used that for a while, and then I start having issue with like some app on the Android doesn't make sense. I want to run one of the app called Matterport on my Android, and for some reason it keep on crashing, and I need that app for for doing real estate things. So and then even my group chat, like it doesn't sync all the time. So I end up giving in to the iPhone in the last like 3 to 4 years, and I was happy with that. And I mean the phone worked as I expected, even though it's more expensive than the other phone. But for now, like I don't have to think of like, oh, how to fix the phone, or how can I get around making the phone work, or anything like that anymore. So saving a lot of time to waste. No, I don't have to waste time on those kind of thing anymore because I got the iPhone. So that's another thing. And then for clothing, I mean, I don't buy clothes that often, so that's some of the decision that my wife usually makes. So, but I totally agree with this rule. Buy the best and keep it for as long as possible. We can. That's one of the quote from the article. From Rahim. And then number seven, rule number seven is don't limit health or education expense. I believe to this too. He prioritized working out with a personal trainer and doesn't uh, doesn't spend time thinking about how much it costs. This, if like again, it's his rule because he was able to afford it. So if I can afford a personal coach, I would have done it also. Because the thing is like everybody said, the only thing you can't buy is the time and your health. So as we get older, our body will be weaker. So keeping help help your body to keep its strength. It's one of the a good thing, because you can have that strength to you can have your health to spend with your kids. So that's something that you can't really put a dollar amount on it. And of course, education is like, we learn, we need to we improve every day. We learn until we die. So that is another thing. And recently I started reading books too. So I love that idea of like, just keep your mind sharp. Don't spend too much time on Netflix all the time. So and then he permit himself to spend freely on education, which is a rule that I agree with. Rule number 8: earn enough to work only with people you respect and like. Now this again is like, it's because he make good money, so he can afford to open up his own company, and just working with the people he like the people that he hire. He's going to work, he's going to work with people he respect and like. Um, there was a time like a couple of years ago, I I worked under one of this company, and at that time my supervisor was pretty. I thought we had a good relationship, but then I ended up like being pissed off, and had to turn in my resignation letter because of something that happened between me and her, and it totally you know um, uh, destroyed the respect I got from that supervisor. So if I can afford to 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 earn enough money to work with only the people that I respect, I would totally do that. Rule number 9: prioritize time outside the spreadsheet. So what he said, and I agree with it, is once you set up your goal and your spending plan, you leave it in your in the spreadsheet, and then you go out and you live your life. You don't want to constantly have to micromanaging your spreadsheet, like going back to the spreadsheet. Oh, is this something that I need to do? Is this something that I can't do? Like that. You need to create that plan, um, and then start living your life, and get out there, to live your life. So this one is completely, I completely agree with also. Um, I do save spreadsheet on my computer for my my all my all my other investment property and stuff like that. And after that, I don't just like constantly monitoring it. I I I I go out and I love I work, and then do spend time with my family, my kids. I have two kids, and I love spending time with them as much as possible. So that time, that memories, we cannot get back. Like one other thing is like like so back then, when my daughter just before my daughter got born, there was this I just saw, one day I just noticed that there's this thing called newborn picture, and before that I don't know anything about newborn photos, but lucky for me, I found out about newborn photo right before my daughter born. So I booked a session of and schedule it for right after she's born. And later I found out like we can only take that newborn photos like within the first 2 weeks of the baby born. After that, they won't stay still long enough for the photographer to take those photos. So even though back then it's cost us like $600-700, and this is back in 2017, which is to me back then I don't have a lot of money, so it was quite expensive, but I did it anyway. So I got the new photo for her when she just came out like 11 days old, and then even our son, like when he was born back in 2019, we did the same thing, and we spent that money, and we got the photos. Now when I showed those photos to my friend and colleague, like some of them are like, oh my god, I should have done that back then. I'm like, oh yeah, like but then they can't because the kid's not gonna go back to like being 10 or 11 days old anymore. So that's something that you just have to make sure that you capture those kind of memory and live your life. Okay. And then the rule number 10, I think is the most important thing, and I'm pretty sure most agree with me, is to marry the right person. And this one I gave it a 2 check, like because this is like so important. Like I'm because if you marry the wrong person, your whole life is gonna be ruined. No matter how good or how successful you become, it's gonna be a drag. The person that you marry is one of the biggest financial decisions you're gonna make. That individual will oh sorry will ooh sorry it will impact on where you live, your saving, and everything of your life. Because the thing is, like, if that person uh, doesn't have the same alignment of value as you are, then it's going to create so much friction in the family, and then that's going to translate into your professional life as well. For example, like if you're a saver and then you marry a spender, then you can have issue and argue over money. And then if so and then if you're a person that like to raise kid a certain way, and then your partner want to raise them a certain way, then you're gonna always gonna argue, and it's gonna take a lot of mental fitness out of your body. So marry the right person is a key. And one of the things, like I know right now is like and then another thing is, like a lot of people don't realize it, but one of the things that I think is really important is, like you make sure that when you know somebody or when you're dating somebody, make sure that your religious belief is aligned, and especially your the particular the political value is aligned as well. Now, I'm married to somebody who have a different religion than me, but we both understand that we don't want to impose our own religion onto the other person. So we're happy with that, and that's good. But I know that if I marry to somebody that have a completely opposite political view as myself, we're gonna be arguing all the time. And so I recommend that anybody who in a current relationship, make sure that you know what those values are from your partners before you tie the knot and get married. Because if they're opposite, then there will it will create a lot of friction in the future. And anyway, that is the 10 rules that Remit have on this article. And if you want to, you can go back, and here's the article linked, and I'll put it into the description below, so that you can take a read about it yourself. And then if you have like this video and like the tips, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I hope to be able to grow this channel to, like 100 subscriber, maybe by the end of the year. I have a very small goal, and very small goal, but hopefully that I'll be able to achieve. So please help me get to 100 subscriber. Okay, thank you. See you next time.